Okay, let's look at the best current production Nikkor prime lenses. Ones that have absolute pinnacle rendition of what it is that you are trying to do. Now, some lenses are left out. You're thinking, well, where's one version of current production 20mm? It's not here. Where's the fisheye lens? Well, it's not here. What is included here? The only thing that's included here are the triple S prime lenses. By triple S, I mean silk, sex, and sugar. That means what's shot out of the rear element of these lenses is just pure honey and butter and silk. Some lenses are left out for obvious reasons because they do not have extremely accurate rendition, including no 20mm, including the 20mm 1.8. Some of them are borderline. Two lenses are not included here that I don't have. I have an older one, but not the new at current production, and that would be the 28mm 2.8, which has 6 elements. It's a superior lens. That's current production 28mm 2.8, and the current mate to the 135, which is the DC Nikkor 105mm DC Nikkor f2, which has 6 elements. Now, there's absolutely no disputing the 10 lenses. There's 12 to be mentioned here, 2 of which I just told you I do not have here. I'm not a big fan of the 105, not because it isn't awesome, but I just don't like that focal range for what it is. It's an expensive lens. It's just insanely expensive, and there's no need to have it. I've got a lot of 105mm lenses, but I don't need the current DC Nikkor. I have it's a superior mate, not superior in image, but superior in focal length. However, it is a $1,400 lens. That is the Nikkor 135mm f2. That's a 7-element lens. Now you say, why aren't you including the 135mm 2.8 or the 135mm f3.5 you're talking about all the time? They're not current production lenses. So these are the indisputable top champions. There's no debating that they will produce absolute, flat out, incredibly, perfectly rendered images. They're just divine. And what is an amazing characteristic is, if you were just to pick these out after testing all current production Nikkor lenses, you would narrow them down after logical consideration to say that these are the best, plus the 2 that I don't have here, and then you would go, oh my god, what do all of these also have in common? Well, they're all 9 elements or less, most of them being 6 or 7 elements. What a surprise that is! Because gloss is evil. Okay? Gloss is the killer of light. Gloss sucks. Doesn't matter if you've got a nanoparticle coated element, you have an aspherical doublet. It doesn't matter if you have 2 ED elements, because magnetic permeability and dielectric permittivity are irrefutable distorters of light. Okay, so these are the top lenses. Let's go down the list. Right at the very top in focal length. And the reason that the 200mm f2 is not included, well, one reason is it's an insanely expensive. It's got too much distortion, and it's got way too much damn glass in it. It's just insanely expensive. This is a better lens at 180mm by far than the 200mm f2 is, which costs 10 of these lenses wouldn't even, at used price, 10 of these used lenses wouldn't even purchase a brand new 200mm f2. The lens is ridiculous. It's not all that great, so that's the reason it's not included. The reason the 300mm 2.8 is not included for many of the same reasons. Now there's some older 300mm which I could include, but I have to talk about current production only. So here we have the 180mm f2.8. That's an 8-element prime lens. It's I can't even believe I've got 5 of these lenses now. That's just ridiculous. Absolutely incredible. Silk, sex, and sugar. There's no debating what it is or what it does. It's just a cat's ass. Period. Next in line, insanely expensive. Like I said, I have to stick to current production. That's the 135mm f2. It's a 7-element lens. This is the DC Nikkor. Nikon actually has a patent on the defocus control for it. It doesn't really create that dramatic of a value. They call it the bokeh lens, but it doesn't do all that much. Next in line, go figure that one, to be 60mm D series. It's an 8-element lens, just countless Countless thousands of you have bought this lens off my recommendation. Nobody's chirped back with being unhappy. You all love it. This is the D series. Do not recommend the current G series. This is far, far better construction. This is also a 6-element prime lens. Excuse me, 8-element prime lens. Excuse me about there. I was thinking about the other lens. The 60mm D 8-element prime lens. Going on down the line, the second toughest lens Nikon ever created, along with the 50mm f1.2, which isn't made anymore. This is a current production. They still make it exactly like they did in the old days. This is the 55mm macro Nikkor. It's manual focus. It's 2.8. It's a 6-element lens. Absolutely incredible. Manual focus only, of course. Not one-to-one reproduction, but there it is. Next in line are three 50mm. Oddly enough, Nikon still makes this lens like they did back in the old days. This is the 50mm f1.2. It is a 7-element prime lens. This is the fastest lens that Nikon currently makes, period, in any focal length. It's a f1.2. You can see how enormous that rear element is. So that is the 7-element f1.2 50mm manual focus Nikkor. Here's another 50mm. It's also still a current production lens. It's a 7-element 50mm f1.4. I recommend buying one of these used in AI or AIS, but this is still a current production lens. They still make them the old-fashioned way. Here's an autofocus lens. This is a super cheapie. Typically you find this for 90 to 100 bucks. This is the 50mm f1.8D lens. It's a 6-element prime lens, perfect for FX or DX use. Its superiority is unquestionable, even if its plastic casing is questionable. But you're not using your lenses for hammers, I assume. Now, why is this lens, the 35mm f2 6-element lens, far superior to the other 35mm 1.8 G series lens? I'm not talking about the the DX series 1.8, but I'm talking about the FX series 1.8, which is $600. This is a $200 lens. I'm talking about the FX series of this lens, which is $600. This is a $200 lens. So why is this 35mm f2 superior? Okay, we're talking about 11, almost twice as many elements. You can see it too when you compare the two side by side. The color saturation and the depth on this is far superior. It's all about glass, once again. You don't believe me? Compare the two side by side and test shot. Gloss is murder. Gloss kills images, okay? This is the 35mm f2. It's a cheap lens, relatively new. It's only $400. It's a 6-element autofocus D-series lens. Current production. Next and last in line of the 12 lenses, like I said, 2 of which are not represented here, is the 35mm f1.8 G series DX lens, okay? So this one is included, unlike its FX cousin. So this is the 35mm f1.8G. It has 8 elements. It's only $200. It's just a cat's ass if you got a DX camera. It's cheap as hell. You can typically find them used for about 130, 40 bucks. Sometimes cheap as 120. It's made in China, but it's got a metal mount on it, so it's not a polycarbonate mount. Awesome lens. Just flat out, all of these, there's no disputing any of these, okay? I don't care what you say or what you believe. Sorry, but when it comes to these 10 lenses here and the 2 that are not represented here but should be included, that being the 105mm f2 DC Nikkor, which is a 6-element lens, and the other one being the 28mm 2.8 6-element lens, there's no disputing any of these 12 lenses. These are the top current production renditional prime lenses. All of these lenses will just crap out silk, sex, and sugar and honey and butter right on the back of your sensor or your film, as the case may be. There's just no argument about it, unless you get a defective one or one that's been damaged or full of fungus. If you get one that is in great shape and whatnot, you're not going to be unhappy with it. If you have an issue with one of these lenses, as long as it's not defective or has fungus or haze in it, then you're smoking crack. I mean, I just can't state it any other way. If you don't like any of these lenses, you're smoking crack. They might not be the appropriate focal length for what you're trying to do, architecturally or street photography. you might not be as useful of a focal length, but as far as what they do and their focal length, you know, this is written in stone on these 10 lenses, and the 2 that are not included that I mentioned being the 105 f2 and the 28mm f2.8. Okay? Believe it or not, I have not yet made this video, but I have made it now, and there it is. Okay? Thanks for watching. If you like this video, drop me a buck or two, or tell me to go jump off a cliff, whatever makes you the most happy, and I'll catch you later. These are Nikon's top current production prime lenses. Okay? Impossible to be unhappy with them, unless you are insane, you know, which might be the case in some people.